Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce my friend, my former neighbor, and a Roncalli High School graduate, Jimmy Gibbons.
Oh, I'm nervous. All right, well.
Welcome back.
Good to see
Here's
you.
the podium right here. Okay?
All right.
God bless you.
Thanks. All right, good afternoon. Do you have to go back to class after this? So if I go a little long, I'm going to start by just, sealing a deal that I made with Chuck, with Mr. Weisenbach. We both grew up on St. Jude Drive, and what went on St. Jude Drive stays on St. Jude Drive. So I'm not going to tell you any of the stories that I got on Chuck so that he doesn't tell you any of the stories that he has on me. What I would like to talk to you a little bit about is my journey and hopefully share with you some lessons of maybe faith, stick-to-itiveness, and maybe thinking differently. And I'll start by sharing a story of my son, Thomas, only because I think it sets the stage for thinking differently, which I think is an important lesson for all of us as you are in such a foundation-building stage of your journey here at Roncalli High School. So Thomas, he's 18 years old now. He's in his freshman year at James Madison University. But when he was in first grade or 8 years old, he lived baseball. He ate, drank, thought, slept baseball. He always had a ball or a mitt or a bat in his hand. And when we were out barbecuing one evening, he said, "Daddy, watch this." He said, "I am the world's greatest hitter." And he had the ball and the bat, and he throws the ball in the air, and he swings with all of his might, and he missed. And he said, "Strike one, Daddy." But he picks up the ball with great determination. And he throws the ball in the air again, and I'm waiting for a window to break. And swish. He said, "Strike two, Daddy." He said, "Dad, I am the world's greatest hitter." He just reinforced it with me. And he throws the ball in the air, and with great concentration, he swung. He missed. He said, "Daddy, I'm the world's greatest pitcher, too." So if you think about your life and the path that you take, circumstances will change your path. And you'll need to adjust. And you'll need to turn those circumstances into your advantages. As I toured Roncalli today, and I see the awesome job that the students, the teachers, and the administration have done to build such a fabulous community, I think back to when I was here, and I was pretty nervous walking up here. I speak a lot to a lot of groups. And somebody mentioned, yeah, it's got to be nerve-wracking to speak to 1,000 students. And I said, no, it's the 10 or 12 teachers that are still here from when I was here. And what they know about me scares me. Especially Mr. Punarelli. He scares me today when I met him. I don't know. One time he called me down to the blockhouse. It was freshman year and it was football season, and I'd got, I'll tell one story on me. Me and my buddies, we found, this is the truth too, we found some fire extinguishers in the woods back there behind St. Jude. I swear we found, my mom's here, she doesn't know this story. And they were pretty fun to empty riding through St. Jude and around, not realizing that the principal over there was watching everything we were doing. And it turned out somebody took them out of the bus barn over there. And so it appeared as if we did that, which we didn't. But getting paged by Mr. Punarelli to come down and meet him at the blockhouse is not a pleasant experience. So I don't know if any of you have ever had that experience. But when I walk around here, I see how you've grown and how Roncalli has taken every circumstance that has been thrown at you and every opportunity, and you've seized the moment, you've seized the day to build an incredible community for all of you to build a fabulous foundation for your life. A fabulous foundation of friendships, of education, and of faith. Not everybody gets this opportunity. Not everybody gets an environment like Roncalli to build that foundation that will see you through the challenges and the opportunities that you have through the course of your lives. That foundation of friendship and faith, I can guarantee you, will carry you through the good times and the bad times. So as I think back to my days here, 30 years ago, and I walked by the Star Center, and as a young blind guy going to high school here, losing my vision, we didn't quite have the same resources in terms of all that you've built, but the resources of spirit were there. I spent, I think, every break period in the math resource room with Mr. Oblon or Mrs. Hadley or Mr. Anderson, so that I could pick up the pieces I didn't catch during the classroom. Every coach, every teacher, every administrator made sure that if I was interested in being successful, they were interested in my success. It's a two-way street. So let me share a little bit about my journey and how I landed where I am today as the president and CEO of Goodwill Industries International. As Chuck said, Goodwill Industries International is a pretty big organization. And you all probably know us by the Goodwill stores. There's more than 2,700 Goodwill stores. Goodwills collectively do over $4 billion worth of revenue, serve more than 4 million people. We place more than 200,000 people into employments within each community every year. And we have 105,000 team members throughout the Goodwill network. It's a high-impact organization, and it all starts with that little donation when your parents make you clean out your closet. But it's a pretty powerful model, and I'm pretty honored to be a part of it and to serve this nation, the world, and the communities that we're a part of as the president of Goodwill Industries International. But it all started right around here. I grew up on St. Jude Drive. I was born at St. Francis. I'm the youngest of 8 children. 7 of my brothers and sisters graduated from either Chartrand or Roncalli. And my mom, the woman who made that happen, is sitting right over here today. So can you give her a big round of applause? My sister Nancy's here as well, and everybody knows my sister Mary Beth Supple. Can you give them a big round as well? And tomorrow's my mom's 88th birthday. So I grew up here. I went to St. Jude, joined the Roncalli community, had a fabulous high school experience. Took advantage of everything from student leadership opportunities to sports to, most importantly for me, I hit the books pretty hard. But I played pretty hard too. And you can always do both if you prioritize. And I had great friends. And it all landed in my senior year, and I don't believe that you guys have had your senior retreats start yet. If you're a senior and you haven't signed up yet, and there's probably 3, there were 3 when I was here, but sign up. It is really an opportunity to take the faith that you've built over these years, the relationship that you've only begun building with Christ, and take it to the next level. And at that point, by the time you graduate, you have a solid foundation, but still yet the beginning of a fabulous relationship with Jesus Christ. So I started here, right here, in this gymnasium, with all of you, but 30 years ago. Went to Purdue University. I studied engineering. And here's where the journey kind of starts to get a little tougher. After my freshman year at Purdue, I couldn't find a summer job. But I handled that one pretty well. I just didn't work. I had a great summer and didn't accomplish much, but it was a lot of fun. And after my sophomore year of getting good grades, I couldn't find a job. But my dad worked for Eli Lilly. And Eli Lilly had a program back then where if an employee's kid was going to college, they'd get at least one summer internship. But they couldn't find the spot for the young engineer out of Purdue until my dad went in and spoke with the human resources manager. Now, I always imagined that he went in there and banged the table, and maybe he did. But what I really learned later in life is he advocated. And advocacy for yourself and for the issues that you believe in and for your family is very important. So he advocated, and I got a job, and I was a janitor for that summer, and I was a real good janitor. And mostly I learned that every job is important. And so my junior year came, and I tried to find a job, and I still struggled. So I found out a new way to get a job because I wanted a job in engineering. And so I said, I'll work for free. And I got an internship where I didn't get paid, but I got college credit. So you kind of got to turn the circumstances into your advantage. I needed engineering. Did the mic just go off? Okay. I needed engineering experience, and I had a tough time selling the blind engineer. So I had to come up with a new pathway to get that experience. And so lo and behold, my senior comes at Purdue University. I've got good grades. I'm interviewing, and the human resources folks on campus love me. Jim, it is great to meet you. We'll take your resume back, and we'll get back with you soon. It'd be great to have you on the team. We'll get back with you. And I got 50 rejection letters. 50 rejection letters because my resume in the stack with the hundreds of other great Purdue engineering grads caused anxiety with the hiring operations folks. 50 rejection letters until finally I got job offers after I graduated from AT&T and IBM. So I can't complain. 7 out of 10 blind people in this country don't work today. And I've worked my entire adult life. So I'm very fortunate. But I think a lot of that kind of stick-to-itiveness came from lessons I learned from my parents and my family. From lessons as early as that I can remember as 5th grade when I was at St. Jude and I was a starting 5th grader on the 5th and 6th grade football team, and I lost my starting position. So I handled it. I quit. And I remember so clearly sitting with my dad that evening. He was in the garage, and he said, son, he said, winners never quit and quitters never win. Winners never quit and quitters never win. And it always stuck with me in the back of my head. I don't know that I took it as a life lesson or any of these things as life lessons until later. Nothing seems to hit me immediately. It takes a while. It sits in there and it brews a little bit. But that lesson of tenacity and that lesson of stick-to-itiveness. And then you overlay the foundation that I had an opportunity to build here at Roncalli and through really kindergarten on, 13 years of Catholic education. And the education was awesome, but it was the environment that allowed me to begin to have that relationship with Christ that helped me power through those struggles and those challenges and to have the stick-to-itiveness, so the lessons and the faith coming together so that those challenges always seemed overcomable, even when they didn't, even when I felt pretty bothered by being blind, even when I wasn't accepting that blindness was how I was going to live my life. I always had enough oomph, enough of that relationship with Christ to help me see the light, to help me power through. It's kind of like, well, when I was here, there was a poem that was pretty popular amongst the seniors anyway, and the author was anonymous, but I Googled it a couple of years ago, and it's got an author now. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but her name is Mary Stevens, and it's called Footsteps. Does that float around here still? Yeah. So, and if I were to paraphrase Footsteps, it's about a person who has a dream, and a dream that they're walking along the beach with the Lord, and they're seeing scenes of their life. And they're a little bit bothered because as they see those scenes in their life, scenes where they struggled, scenes where they were in anguish, sadness, and their true struggles in life, they noticed that the footsteps in the sand only had one set of footsteps. And on all of the happy times, there were two sets of footsteps. And this bothered this person. It bothered them because during the tough times, they felt as if they were abandoned by the Lord. And they said to the Lord, Lord, you said if I follow you, that you will be with me always. But yet, during my challenging times, where were you? And the Lord answered, during those times, the footsteps in the sand were mine, and I was carrying you. And I think there's a lot of truth to that in very small ways. Not in ways where lights go off and there's big flashes, but in ways that when you're struggling, whether it's homework, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a friend, whether it's you got friends who are wanting to party and you're thinking, no, I'm not wanting to get into that scene. There's a power there if you start building that relationship that will help you carry through your challenging times. And I can't say it enough, but in this environment, at this school, with this powerful energy, you are starting off in a place that, maybe 1,300 kids, young people, have a chance to, maybe in the world. You have a very special place here to build off of. I know because I did. So, I got offers from AT&T and IBM. I chose AT&T. My wife Tammy and I were dating at that point. AT&T's opportunity was in Cincinnati. IBM was in New York. Lots of changes happening in my life. Cincinnati seemed like just a 2-hour drive. That seems easy. Let's go to Cincinnati. It was a great start to my career. Tammy moved to Cincinnati. She was a teacher. She bought a couch that matched my couch for her apartment. Our families thought, they're buying matching furniture. Something's going to happen here. And we got married a year after graduating from college. And I worked at AT&T in Cincinnati for 7 years. And about 5 years into it, I knew that I was at a stage of my life where I needed to get a graduate degree. You know, I needed to get an MBA. I wanted to run either a big part of AT&T or another company. I didn't know how, but I knew that I needed that. And so I applied to Harvard Business School. And growing up in Indiana and going to Purdue, you know, we don't get a ton of exposure to Harvard. You know, we think, that's for those East Coast people. But there was a guy at Purdue, his name was Steve Bird, and he said, we were graduating. I said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm going to work for 2 years. I'm going to go to Harvard Business School. And I said, you're going to go to Harvard Business? How are you going to do that? Are we allowed? And he did some summer jobs with some people that went to HBS. And so 5 years into this, 4 or 5 years, I'm thinking, well, Steve Bird was a 4.0 GPA at Purdue, and I wasn't. But what the heck? I'm going to try. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I didn't get in. And my clock was ticking, so to speak, in terms of my MBA. And I thought, oh, gosh, night school? Ooh, that sounds hard. We're about ready to start a family. I'd be a failure at everything if I tried to do it all at once. 2 years went by. I'd called HBS. I tried to get a sense of what was weak in my application, and I applied again. I'd earned a promotion. I'd moved to New Jersey. I had a broader corporate and global perspective. 2 years made a difference, and this time I got in. Years later, I was on the Harvard Business School Alumni Association board, and I realized that people who applied twice, there's like a 0.02% chance of getting in. So I got kind of lucky on that one, and it was a good move for me. So I was fortunate enough to be the first blind guy to go to the Harvard Business School, to get a Harvard MBA. And when you go to Harvard, so all of you are thinking, I'm from here in Indianapolis, and boy, that's a long way away in the Ivy League. Don't think that way. Everybody there is just like you and me. There's a few people that I wondered how they got in, which some of them may have thought that about me. And there were a few people that I thought, had the stereotypical kind of Northeastern snottiness. And then the other 95% were just awesome people to live and learn with. I went to Harvard Business School, left there and went to AT&T and started doing mergers and acquisitions. We ended up buying a company. I moved on to another department. And as I was closing my budgets up with the lady that ran all of the education businesses for AT&T, she said, Gibby, how would you like to go run a company in Arizona? And it was a company that we bought while I was in the mergers and acquisitions group. I didn't do the deal, so I didn't know much about it. And I went home. This was a Friday. I had to let her know on Monday. And I went home and I said, hey, Tammy, we have a chance to go out to Arizona. I don't know anything about the company, but I'd get to run it. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to run a company. And at AT&T, it's this giant network. So there's really only one person that runs all of that. And so this was a unique opportunity for a mid-level guy. And I go out to Phoenix, Arizona. I run a company called AT&T Campus-Wide Access Solutions. Do that for 2 years. We grow the business. It was a great ride. And then I get a call from a headhunter for something I'd never thought about. I'd always thought that someday I would maybe get on the board of directors of an organization for the blind and be helpful to other blind people. But I got a call to go be to talk to the board of directors of the National Industries for the Blind, which is an organization that employs people who are blind through contracts, and its mission is to create job opportunities for people who are blind. But it was a business job that had social impact. And I thought, that's pretty cool. So on a professional level, I get a bigger job, a bigger opportunity, a more complex opportunity, and I have impact on the lives of people who are blind versus maybe being an influencer down the road. I could be a direct impact player. So I got the job at National Industries for the Blind, moved to Washington, D.C., and led that organization over 10 years. And then I got the call to join Goodwill. And Goodwill I knew by the source, just as many as you do. But as I researched it, I realized that they too, just like NIB, believed in the human potential and believed in the power of work. And the mission of Goodwill really revolves around the power of work and how do people achieve their full potential through work. So I said, boy, this bigger brand, global, bigger organization, I'll throw my hat in the ring when I got the call. So I interviewed, and then interviewed again, and then interviewed, and then took a test, and then interviewed again, then gave a speech, and then interviewed again, and they gave me the job. So I've been at Goodwill for 4 years now, and it's been an awesome experience for me. And through all of those business experiences, there are ups and there are downs. There are good days and there are challenging days. And the way to overcome all of those challenges and the way to enjoy all of those good days in the most meaningful way, at least one way, is to share those experiences with Jesus Christ. And if you can do that, then the challenges are less challenging and the successes are even more fulfilling. So I graduated 30 years ago. I've had a career filled with what probably I needed a little bit of stick-to-itiveness. I certainly needed to advocate, that I learned from my father's experiences on advocating for me. My mom and dad always advocated for both me and Mary Beth when it came to, nowadays, there are a lot more resources. Parents had to really battle to get kids the large print textbooks when we were kids. They just weren't that easy to come by. They always came 4 weeks into the semester. It took really engaged parents, and it still does. But it took really engaged parents. But the real lesson for me was that lesson of advocacy. And the real lesson for me when I quit 5th grade football was that lesson of stick-to-itiveness. And the real lesson for me when Thomas became the world's greatest pitcher was that lesson of think differently. And I hope the lesson for all of you in this afternoon's presentation and in this homecoming week is really that of thinking differently. Thinking about the extraordinary opportunity that you have to build a foundation that will springboard you into an exciting and a fulfilling life that is filled with faith, with outstanding friendships, and extraordinary successes. So let me wrap this up, and I'm going to close it off with a lesson of stick-to-itiveness. I'm going to give a whole nother speech here. Can you handle another one? This is a speech that was given by Winston Churchill. And Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of Great Britain. And he was a war hero, really. And he was probably 80-something years old. And he went back to his prep school to give a graduation speech. And he always had one of these big cigars in his mouth, and he had this hat. And he walks up to the lectern, and he takes his hat off, and he pulls his cigar out of his mouth. And this is a graduating class, and this is his speech. He said, "Never give up, never give up, never give up." Put his hat back on, his cigar in his mouth, and he walked off the stage. And that was his speech. But I think that's a good lesson, because you have the potential to make the world that you touch better. Whether your world expands beyond the neighborhood you live in today, or the city of Indianapolis, or the state of Indiana, or this country of the United States of America, you have the potential to have a positive influence and to be the light of the world that you choose to be a part of. And with that, I thank you. Good luck in the big game. Congratulations on all the successes, Blue Ribbon Schools, great athletics, but mostly for the energy that you bring to this community every day. Thank you, and have a great homecoming.